Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about men's fear of women. Yes, that is what we are thinking about today because it is a thinker. And luckily, I have Dr. Avrum, who's going to be helping us think about this in a whole new way. So, thank you so much for coming on my show, sharing your time and your perspective with me. Let's dive right in. So,
Sure.
when you hear the words, men's fear of women, what does that necessarily make you think about?
Well, it's something I've been writing about for about 15 years, and it's one of those things when you haven't heard the idea, it seems somewhat preposterous to you. But once you hear the idea, you can't stop seeing it. And so what I think about is that I don't get through a day without seeing an example of men being afraid of women.
Well, absolutely. And you know what's interesting is that before you even came across this, I was just like, man, there are a lot of men out there who just have this hatred, or they project out this hatred towards women, or they have no respect for women or any type of way. But then when I was reading what you had to say, and I was like, how men fear of women, and I seen all the books that you wrote, I was just like, you know what? This is truly interesting because could it be that the reason why certain men project out their hate or disrespect to women is because there's a slight amount of fear?
Absolutely. More than could be. It absolutely is. You're spot on. And I would say it's not a slight amount of fear. It's
Okay.
actually quite a lot of fear. And I would go even a step further to say, and this is certainly controversial, and I know some people would not be happy with what I'm about to say. I think men's violence towards women is comes out of fear.
Mm. And what is exactly is there to fear? I mean, I know I could think of many answers, but I would love to hear from your perspective.
Well, let's hear your answers first, and then I'm
No,
happy.
no, I asked the
Okay.
question
Okay.
first.
So I'm going to give you a bit of a roundabout answer, but it's worth the trip.
Okay.
I encourage you and your listeners to Google something called the still face experiment. That's STILL, and you'll know you're in the right place if the experimenter name is Tronick, Tronick. So Tronick did these experiments back in probably the 60s when you could do an experiment like this, would never be allowed today. And he filmed mothers and infants, little bitty babies, interacting with each other, and he did it in a split screen so you could see both parts of the interaction. It was very clear that they were having an interaction. And the babies are obviously pre-verbal, but it's clear that they are going back and forth, and they have to because humans are the only animals that are completely dependent on their caregivers. Babies can't live without their caregivers.
Yeah.
Horses can live, cows can live, dogs can live. Human infants cannot live. So human infants' lives literally depend on engaging their caregiver. Like you have to think I'm cute or I'm dead. All right.
Yeah.
So you'll see in these videos, you see the baby tries out some kind of expression or cute noise, and the mom smiles, and the baby's like, "Oh, that worked. More of that." Or they'll try something else, and so you can see they are learning how to have a relationship without words.
Yeah.
So then in the experiment, the moms are instructed to turn away and turn back with a still face, meaning unexpressive, not responsive, not angry, not critical, just not responsive. And within 60 seconds, almost all of the babies in the experiment lost it, to the extent that some of them lost the ability to sit up straight. Some of them lost bowel and bladder control because mom not paying attention to me is life threatening. Interestingly, the boy babies got more distressed and their distress lasted longer. And that's interesting because when you study adult heterosexual relationships, when there's conflict, guess who gets more physiological upset and takes longer to calm down? It's men,
Mm.
replaying their experience of infancy. So if you're a heterosexual man and you grow up and you get interested in women romantically, it replays the exact same dynamic for you. You kick right back into that fear. You know, you hear all these cliches of mom ain't happy, nobody's happy, happy wife, happy
Um,
life. That's where those cliches come from because men regress We all regress in intimate relationships. Men regress to a place of needing a woman's attention and approval and caregiving to survive.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so it's
absolutely.
not a little fear. So this
It's a
is
big
why
fear.
when heterosexual couples break up, men jump back into dating in a heartbeat. And women are like, well, maybe I will, maybe I won't, we'll see. But men are
Yeah.
like, I need a partner yesterday.
Yeah, I know that is true. That is really that you know what that's good that you brought that up like that because I was gonna say that the reason why I think it comes from like as from a childbirth is because we have that connection as a mother, you know what I mean? As a
Yes.
mother, we instinctively have that bond when the baby's in the womb, you know what I mean? So the baby already has that knowing that we are the ones to
Right.
be there, you know what I mean? And I've even read studies where a child technically saying doesn't a child doesn't know that it's not a part of its mother until it
That's
gets like almost a year or more
that's
older,
true.
you know what I mean? And
That's true.
depending if it's a female or a male, like the male will take longer to recognize that they are not the same versus the female will already know, like, okay, yeah, that's my mother, but she's not, we're two single individuals,
Yep.
you know what I mean? So I've read the on those things, so I understand that concept. So it's like the fact that there's this fear of not being belonged and fear of not being loved really does trigger the man to lash out in any way that brings the attention back on them. And if that means to scream or if that means to cry or if that means to get abusive, they know that that's going to what bring their attention back into their child to themselves.
Which feels like life and death to them. That's the important part here is to understand the intensity of the feelings. It's not a casual matter for men.
No,
So I
no.
had
I
one
mean,
guy tell me he could tell if his wife was upset with him the minute he walked through the front door when he came home from work. But he meant before he saw her,
mm,
that he could feel it in the air. And I think he was probably so focused on her approval, he probably could.
wow, that's interesting, right? It's that, yeah, it's that approval. It's that, do you still love me? Do you still care? Do you still
Yeah.
want me to be in your life? So I guess, what do you necessarily say for those people that are considered to be chronic cheaters? You know what I mean? What do you necessarily, what is your opinion on that?
Well, it's a great example because um, I've certainly worked with a number of people like this, and what they tell me is that after a while, the sex is not that interesting. It's really not the sex they're about, it's the validation and approval. And, the more women I can attract, the more I might believe that I'm lovable. And so they become stuck in a sort of endless loop of pursuing something that like any addiction, they're pursuing something that really isn't that gratifying anymore. Stopped being gratifying some time ago.
Oh, so that is interesting. So they need to basically recognize where they're seeking. And I
Yep.
guess it sounds like you were able to help them realize like what you're seeking is that validation. At the
So
end of the
let's
day, you're confusing it as sex, but
yeah.
it's what you want is that validation.
But let's so infidelity is fortunately not the norm, or not the majority, and so but these dynamics exist in every heterosexual relationship. So this is why women, there's a lot of chatter and conversation and writing among women about why men are so preoccupied with a woman's orgasm to the point where they're irritated that he's so determined that she have an orgasm and that he know it, right?
Yeah,
And women fake orgasms to kind of
please
get
them
him
off.
off the.
Yeah.
Well, that's why men are so preoccupied with it because it's job security, right? If
Right. Yeah,
I please
technically.
you, you're not going to abandon me. As if I
Right.
you have a great orgasm and you scream to the ceiling, I just signed another contract.
Right. You get some more, you get a golden star on your
That's
chart,
right.
right?
That
That's
from
that's
mommy.
true.
Yep.
So how does one as a man necessarily heal this fear? Or is there ever a point where you can actually say you're fearless of women?
Um, I don't. I mean, fear is a natural part of any intimate relationship. You should be a little worried that your partner is going to leave you, not day and night and, obsessing about it, but it keeps us on our toes and behaving our best. If you're in a job and you think you can't be fired, but if you like every year they're looking at your performance, it helps you do your best. So a little
Yeah.
fear is okay.
Okay.
But what I've learned from experience is that the best way to help men is to create situations in which men can talk with other men. And
Mm.
so, one of the things I'm happiest with in the book is there's a chapter for men about how to find other men, like in a book group or whatever, to talk to about these issues because you have no idea how differently men talk to other men than they do when there are women in the room, in a
Oh,
good way.
yeah. Yeah, to a degree, right? Because it just depends on how, because I've heard notions and I heard snippets, and my husband tells me little things, and it's so bizarre compared to how I would talk about it or how I would talk to another woman. So truly, it is like another like language, but it's like I feel like women have the same thing. We have our own way of speaking
Right,
in code in a way that makes us feel heard, but I
right.
feel like the men would have that same mannerism as well, right?
But what surprises women that women don't know about is how intimately men talk with each other when women aren't around. How personal and how close and how much men want to be close with other men and have sort of forgotten how and lost track of. But if you ask most men, did you have a bestie when you were a little boy? Almost certainly they did. And they did sleepovers and they spent weekends together and they were very, very, very close. And so most men deal with a great deal of loneliness and isolation because society has sort of pushed them to give up male friendships. And it's
Yeah.
terribly traumatizing for them to be without. And then, of course, that puts all the weight on the marriage. All the man's needs for connection are in one relationship, which nobody can possibly meet. And so helping men to connect with other men is a really, really important part of the process.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I feel like that makes sense because you have a way of bonding, you have a way of understanding, you can give each other the feedback that unfortunately women we are limited to just because we are always bringing it back to a space that men don't live in, you know what I mean? Or men aren't always exposed to, or they don't have the same worries or focus as we do because their outlook, their agenda, everything, how they move is going to be a little bit differently than we do. So that is truly something to think about, huh? So I guess I have to ask you, um, when you discovered this, when was this like this is a light bulb moment?
It kind of was. I was sitting in a session with a man and I kept listening to him. And so very often men would come see me in therapy and they would spend a lot of time talking about all the things about their wives they didn't like or their girlfriend or their partner, whatever. And so I started asking guys, well, it's sort of a natural therapist question, like, have you talked to your wife about this or your girlfriend?
Yeah.
And almost every time they would look at me like I had just asked the stupidest question in the world, like, oh, no, I'm not talking to her about it. Talking to her about it just makes it worse. That's why I'm here talking to you. And so gradually it occurred to me, why are they not talking about this? It bothers them so much. Why? And I thought, I wonder if they're afraid to talk to her. So I started very hesitantly asking, it kind of sounds like you're afraid to talk to her. And again, the reaction, the same thing happened every time. First, they would sort of bow up and get defensive, like, I'm not afraid of any woman. But I'm telling you, it never lasts more than 60 seconds. Within 60 seconds, every man I suggested that to went, huh, that would explain a lot. And
Yeah.
then we start unpacking things with that understanding, and everything that had not made sense starts to make more sense.
Yeah, most definitely. Do you think it's the fact that we interpret fear? Well, one, it's very subjective, but two, do you think it's because the way that we put fear as if it's weak, as if it's wrong, as if,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? So
Men are
like
taught.
what's the right way to look about when it comes to fear?
You know, I write for Psychology Today, and if I write an article with a title, Men's Intimidation of Women, it gets more views than if I write an article with the title Men's Fears of Women. So men don't like to hear the word fear, but I use it because I'm calling a spade, and it gets their attention. So if I say intimidated, they kind of know what I'm talking. But if I say afraid, They don't like it, but they immediately know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you say
Yeah.
it in a mixed company, the women look at you like you have two heads, like you're crazy. You know what you're talking about. The men look at you like, you're not really going to talk about that mixed company, are you? You're not going to out me like that, are you?
Right? Yeah, because
Immediately
they
know
don't
what
want
you're
to know.
talking about.
Okay, okay, I see what you're saying. So we just have to know the wording because I do hear all the time, and I do believe it myself that wording really does get somebody in either a closed off state of mind or an open state of mind, just depending on which words you use.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
I mean, I train a lot of therapists and supervise a lot of therapists. And one of the things I tell them is, you know, when you're a young therapist, you think your job is to figure out what's wrong with the other person. And I'm
Mhm.
like, as my mother would say, that and 50 cents will get you in a streetcar. That's of no help to anybody. Your job is to figure out how to get someone else to see what's wrong with them, what the
Mhm.
problem is. That is a skill. And that's about learning how to talk to this unique person in a way that they can hear.
Oh, yeah, I mean that makes sense because you have to speak to them in their level because
Exactly.
everyone's at a certain level. So yeah. So I guess I have to ask you, what is one of your biggest pet peeves in this world?
Um, actually, you mentioned it a little briefly. You said, "When did I discover this?" I didn't discover this. My pet peeve is when people in my field act like they discovered things. You know, human beings
Oh
have been around
yeah.
for thousands of years. We're not
Yeah.
discovering anything about people. We're relearning things. Freud wrote about this 150 years ago. It got lost. I'm helping bring it back, but all I did was be a good listener and take people seriously. And clearly, you cannot have a conversation with a man about his intimate partner without hearing that he's afraid of her. It just
Yeah.
it's not possible. It's always
Oh,
there.
I like the way that you put it because I think it's for infuriating when somebody says, "Oh, this is something that's all me," or "I created
Right.
this," or
Well,
"I'm
I
the
call it
one."
this, you know.
Yeah, like people should be glorifying me, or it's like it's
Can't
baffling because
stand
like
it.
everything has been done in the world, flip, flop, twist it, turn it, call it peanut butter, call it jelly, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter because it's been done before in
Yeah.
some way or another. She said not everybody likes to boast about it. Not everybody likes to like scream it to the rooftops. You know what I mean? Those are very select people, and they demand it because that's all that they know. You know what I mean? So. And that is something that I say as well is that is pretty infuriating because it's like goodness, get a life,
A
find a
little
hobby.
humility.
Yeah, exactly. Get be humbled, my dear.
I
So that
literally, I
go
literally
ahead.
was listening to a book once, and the author on tape, and the author kept literally tape, a cassette tape was a long time ago, and the
Yeah.
author kept saying, "And that's what I call, and that's what I call," and I literally took the cassette and threw it out the window. It's like I couldn't stand it.
Oh yeah, like those self-help books and then when they first started recording, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And then the way they try to have the enthusiasm where they sounded completely monotone. Oh my goodness, I hated those tapes. Oh, that is funny because yeah, I can't. Oh, when somebody takes that power and just makes them feel like, oh, I'm
Right.
superior, it's like for me, I feel like that superiority is an illusion because at the end of the day, we're all on the same playing field.
It also makes people feel bad because this is
Yeah,
part of the same pet peeve, I guess. You only asked me for one, so I'll start to
it's okay.
slide into the second one.
It's okay.
Those books make people feel bad because they present a model as if everything were so simple and easy. Like all you
Yeah,
have to do is stop having negative thoughts. Just have a positive thought instead. So then when people can't do it, they
yeah.
feel even worse because they're like, oh, this is simple and I can't even do this. But it's not simple, it's incredibly complicated.
Oh yeah, you remember in the early 2000s when it was all about you can lose weight, just eat kale or just eat
Right.
salad, just work out, stop being
And in
lazy.
fact, 85% of people who lose 20 pounds or more put it back. So
Yeah.
that doesn't sound too easy. If 85% of people can't do it, we don't know why it's that hard, but we do know it is that hard.
Exactly, exactly. And people don't realize that we can't just flip a switch and then boom, it's gonna just work. If it was that easy, then we wouldn't have all the problems that we have in this world.
You know, it's like the one that goes along that was somebody said to me recently, you know, essentially they were telling me not to feel the way I was feeling. And I said, is there a switch in me somewhere I don't know about? It's like, how do you do that actually? How do you stop feeling, you know, because I don't know how to do that.
Exactly. And as a therapist, I would think you would be the one to be able to know how to flip
Right,
that switch on everybody. If that was the case, go to the psych ward and tell all those people who are murdering
right.
everyone to switch that flip down, or you know what I mean? Like that doesn't work like that. Goodness
Well, if there's a
gracious.
switch, I don't know where it is.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Avery. I really enjoyed this conversation. It has really brought some thought-provoking, you know what I mean,
Good.
self-reflection that we all really need to really think about. But what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Um, I take pride in the fact that I answer every email I receive. And so if you have questions that came up to you, either from listening to this podcast or from reading the book, you are welcome to email me. If you go to my website, which I assume will be in your show notes, you'll see my website and you can email me there. Also, if you are interested in reading what I write, if you sign up for the mailing list, you'll get a free ebook on relationships, and I will respond to your question within 24 hours.
Awesome. There you go. I really did enjoy this. Thank you so much. And
Me
ladies and
too.
gentlemen, if you guys enjoyed this and you're listening in, just trying to think about those questions or you're writing them down, go check them out. I have access to his websites it's in the description on the audio. And if you're on YouTube, you see it in the description as well. Or if you're on my website, find his photo, click on it, and it goes directly to his website because he has great content to keep us all thinking and so many great books to obviously continue on thinking. Because isn't that the point, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is. It's to keep on thinking. So, with that being said, bye.